how's it going? Just wanted to make a quick video about DotLoop here. This is logged in here. The first place you're going to want to go is templates. And so, let's wait for that. I've created several folders here. I believe this personal one you can't delete, but you can make, I've basically created the two main folders I use, buying forms and listing docs. You can name them whatever you want, buyers, sellers, and so on. And the other main one is the one that's in here is GAR interactive documents, and this is where all the forms are. You have GAR interactive documents, and you also have KW documents or PDFs like the ABA, the MSA, and so on. Now what you want to do is create templates that you use a lot. If you have something you might use once every few years, you probably don't want to make a template for it. But if you have, for example, the buyer brokerage agreement or the listing agreement, you're definitely going to want to make that so you don't have to fill in all that information every time. And if, for example, you always list at 3%, you can put that in there. If you, I'm just trying to think of anything else. Oh, if all yours go to the end of the year, you will want to make templates for that. Same for BBA, same for a purchase and sale agreements, since you may be using that a lot if you're working with a lot of buyers, or even if you're working with 2 or 3 a year, it's going to save you a lot of time. So what you would do is once you're in here, you would create a new folder. And now keep in mind, I've already got these, but I'm going to make a fake one for you. New folder, and I'm just going to name it Michael and buyers. That way I'll know to delete this afterwards for me. But you don't, of course, you don't have to put Michael in there, but you can put buyers, let's just say, and create folder. Now what I like to do is for both buyers and sellers, I like to go ahead and put the BBA and the MSA in there and load it with signatures. So I'll show you how to do that. You can do it one of two ways. For GAR forms, I'll show you how to do that in a second. You'll go to templates here, but I'm going to go ahead and drag in the MSA, and I'm going to drag in the BBA, and that way they're there. All right, and let's just go to the ABA, and you can fill, you're going to fill the exhibit in. Of course, the buyer's going to fill that in. Well, I guess in this case, when you submit an offer, you'll fill that in. And you can go ahead and load this with fields if you want. I'm all slowed down. Go to add and text. And if you want to just do it one at a time, you can go like so, click on it, and then drop that dude right there. Okay? Again, I wouldn't fill anything out. Now you could also, if you have multiple here, well, let me just show you date. You can also do add date and drop that guy right there, and then you could fill in the date later, whenever. Okay, and that'll keep you from having to do it every time you do one of these. Another thing you can do that saves you a little bit of time, if you've got a bunch of different fields here, you want to put text or signatures or whatever, go to add, and before you click on it, hit the shift button and hold the shift button down and add text, and then you can drop one here and keep the shift button down and here. And when you're ready to do the last one, you lift up on the shift button and then just drop it there. Okay. And I'll go ahead and load this with signatures. So you can go add signature. I'm going to hit the shift because I'm going to put 2. Now you may only end up needing one of them, but go ahead and load 2 just to save yourself a little bit of time. So shift, add signature, drop that dude right there and right there, and you're done. Okay, and then just hit, don't forget to hit save. I think if you go back out, it will ask you if you want to save it, but go ahead and hit save. Okay. And then you can do the same thing if you want for the MSA. Again, this is a blank PDF that you're having to add stuff to. Here, I think there's only 2 fields to put here. Yeah. So I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to hit shift again, and because I'm going to put 2, and I'm going to go ahead and dump 2 in there. Now you can make these smaller if you want to, if you've got a tight space. Sometimes on some of those GAR forms you have to do that. You can also add an initials. Now this form you shouldn't put initials, but you can add an initial and just drop it right there. And you can add again text if you want to. You don't need to here. You can add a signature like we just did. Add date, add name. You probably don't need that. You can add a checkbox. Again, you don't need it on this form, and then you can click in there and click in there now or later. Let's see what else you can add. Add a radio button. Don't worry about that. We can add strike through. I don't like using strike throughs, but you can add a strike through if you want to strike through something and have your buyer or seller initiate. That way, everything in the amendment or contract is legitimate except for what is being stripped through. So you can do like that and drag that guy. Here, let's see, make it a little bit bigger. Again, I rarely use these, but anyway, just wanted to show you that. And then hit save. Okay. Now, let's see here. If we're talking about buyers, one of the things I'm going to add several things in here. For me, I'm going to add the buyer brokerage agreement. I'm going to go ahead and add a regular purchase and sale agreement. You don't need to worry about adding a land purchase and sale agreement until you do it, because you'll probably only do one of those every few years. But I always like to go ahead and add all the exhibits that I could use, all the loan types. Example, contingency loan exhibit, FHA loan exhibit, VA loan exhibit, USDA, although that's pretty rare, but you want to go ahead and load those in there and maybe just do them one at a time as they come up. Obviously, BBA you're going to have to do every time. Purchase and sale agreement you're going to have to do every time. And maybe you don't have a VA buyer until the end of the year. Maybe you just fill that template out then, but go ahead and put it in here. So let me just show you how to do that. You go to add a document, and where we want to get that is from templates, and then we're going to go down here to GAR Interactive Documents. Now the cool thing about this is you can search for documents up here. You can search by form number. Let's say 511, for example, that we were talking about. Agreement for the closing attorney to serve as the holder of the earnest money. We don't ever do that. We let the office keep it. 510, you can dump that in there. If you want the 255, you may want to go ahead and load instructions to the closing attorney in there. 258 and or let's say 259, for example. I probably plan on sending over a buyer brokerage compensation exhibit with every offer, so I'm going to go ahead and load that in there. And I'm probably going to go ahead and fill that out the way I want it to be. So anyway, going back, go to templates. And for right now, I'm just going to add the buyer brokerage agreement. So go to GAR Interactive Forms, and let's see, buyer agreement. Oops, maybe I should learn to spell. Well, that one's not in there. Buyer, let's see here. We'll find it here in just a second. Exclusive buyer brokerage engagement. Isn't that it? Yeah. And just add that guy in there. Okay. And then you can go in here and add the things that you want that are going to be in one every time. Like, for example, we don't do designated agency, so go ahead and click that. You're going to leave the dates off for right now because we haven't signed the person yet. If broker offers dual agency, one of its agency relationships above buyer does, maybe look at that template that you worked on for your last buyer. You can put the compensation in here. Again, look at the one you did for your last buyer. I'm not saying her name because I don't want you to kick it off. And so on and so on. If you have any questions about what to put in here, just let me know. But the main thing is to fill in all this stuff down here. Your brokerage, your name, and all that. So you don't have to keep doing that over and over and over and over again. You put the address in and so on and so on. And then you'll hit save and it'll be there. Okay? And same thing for the listing agreement. Now, I know we're in the buyer side, but I just want to show you. We're going to add a document, go in here, and put listing. Oops, sorry. GAR Interactive Forms. And, oops. Exclusive, that's not it. Exclusive. Exclusive, no, where I gotta find it, sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna have to find that later, but anyway, you get the point. Let me see which one it is. Go in here. Exclusive seller listing agreement. Why wasn't that pulling up here? Let me just, bear with me 1 second. I should have been more prepared, but I don't. had it in that. I'm sorry. You're going to have to forgive me. I apologize. But anyway, that's how you do that. If you run into any troubles with what to put where, just let me know. So that's templates. And again, if we're going over to the new system, you may not be in here. You may not have to do this long. But at least let me show you how to create a loop, and then go over to loops. Okay, and then you'll just hit add loop. And the easiest thing to do is to do it by the address. If you're working with a buyer, you can put their name in there until you get an address. Nobody's going to see this but you. It used to be back in the day that Anthony or whoever the broker was would actually look at your loop instead of in command before command came around. But anyway, I'm just going to put 123, and I'm not going to say it out loud just because I don't want YouTube to take it down. You know, when you're labeling these, again, this may not be very long for this world, but you know, you don't have to put Georgia. They're all going to be Georgia. And then continue. And then you can put a photo in there. I've never done that. And then the loop is done. And then you're going to go into view loop. Okay. And here's where you can bring over from your templates. Michael Buyer. And then the buyer brokerage agreement. The ABA. And whatever you see fit. We're going to drag that over. And just, you'll see here, if you go into the ABA, for example, your data boxes are already here. And that way you don't have to worry about it. And you can assign these signatures. Now, you can't assign them to anybody because you don't have anybody in there yet. But same thing here. Now, you can go in here and put listing if you want to. Listing for sale, doesn't matter, buy or whatever. And you don't have to worry about this. But the important part here is view details. And this is where you're going to put information about the property and a particular buyer or seller. So we're going to add a person. Now later on, you might want to, if this is a listing, you may want to put the buyer's agent in there. Just warn you, you can put all his or her information in there, and some of it doesn't transfer over. But you may want to put the brokerage there with the phone number they're using. I think sometimes the license number doesn't always carry over, but I think you only need that on the purchase and sale agreement anyway. But one thing you're going to want to add here is just, for example, the let's see, and again, I'm not going to say that just in case they take it down. I'm going to add the email address and so on, and then the role is the, in this case we're going to put seller, and you'll put in the phone number you want on there. And I'm just making one up. You won't worry about company name. You know, put the street address in here so that auto-populates, the street name, state, so on and so on. And you don't have to worry about marital status. I don't know why they put that in there. And then add person. And that way, when you go to add somebody to something, to a document, most of that stuff will fill in. And now you can add, of course, another seller. It's a married couple, whatever. You can add as many as you want. My experience is, I've only ever done with one or two. When you get to an estate or something like that, we'll talk about that when that comes up, because that's pretty rare. Okay, but then you want to put the property address again. Now I'm going to go, just to make things simple, I'm going to put my address in here so it'll auto-populate, and it will auto-populate. Well, anyway, that was supposed to be my address, but it auto-populated another state. It doesn't matter. For the purposes of this video, it doesn't matter. You'll want to put the county in there. You'll want to put the MLS number in there if you've already got it listed. And then you'll want to put the tax parcel ID in. Okay, you can get that from, for example, the realist tax records, and I'll just pull a realist report up. You can get it from the tax records or a printed out realist report. It's right here under tax ID. You just copy that and throw that dude in there. I'll just copy that just for general purposes and dump that in there. That'll help you when it comes time to, you don't have to fill that thing out every time. Some of the information, right now you won't need any of this contract dates and so on because you don't know that yet if you're taking a listing. You do want to put it, put the year it was built, 1993, and what else? I think that's it. Anyway, I'm going to save that. And let's just make a, and we'll save it here. and go back to loop here. Now let's just say we want to put the exclusive buyer brokerage, or sorry, let's say a listing agreement, and I'll pull one for my templates. Go to templates and listing docs and exclusive listing agreement. I don't know why that didn't populate earlier. I must have been typing something wrong, but exclusive seller listing agreement, and copy that guy in there. And then when you go in here, it's going to let you put everybody in here. You won't mess with listing agent because you've already filled in that information. Don't worry about that. But you will want to put the seller in there, and you can reassign this if you want to. But of course, you won't need to. If you had another person, you would assign that person here. Okay. But for right now, we're going to put no one, and there may be some missing information in here. Like I didn't put the county a while ago, so I'm going to put Cherokee. You do want to make sure that's in there. For me, the listing stuff is already pre-printed. You got his contact info in here. Again, before if you were being more thorough than I am, just showing you how to do this, you would put his or her address in here. Okay. Listing agreement, the expiration date, and so on. And we'll just auto-fill that in now. And you'll see the address is filled in here. Okay, and again, it's wrong, but you understand. And you'll check this box right here, and I already did that. Some of the stuff I had already filled in. For right now, and I'm going to have to change this pretty soon, I always make my listing contracts end up at 2 points of the year, June 30th and December 30th. And of course, you put the price and all that in here. All this stuff is pre-done. KW MLS, FMLS, Georgia MLS. And I've already checked this. I've already made some of this stuff here in my exclusive listing agreement. As you can see here, I've already got the commission. I've already got all that filled in for my template. Okay, all this stuff's filled in. All this stuff, I'll let you take a look at that at your own time. Again, this checkbox is checked, and so on and so on. And all this stuff is already checked. All my special stipulations are already checked in here about they're going to pay me back if they pull the listing off the market and all that stuff. And then, of course, you can see all this stuff is here. Sometimes, if you have one seller, see where it says seller assigned? I like to go in here and assign that to no one. Sometimes it acts funky when you want to send it out for signatures. John's already put here, John Doe. Okay, you can change that. Oops. And of course here, and you'll go ahead and sign this. This is of course my name, but you'll go ahead and sign this and assign it to yourself, to me, and now I can sign it automatically, and then I can save and share, and I can send that to John Doe. I'll check him. Can sign. That's all default. Then I'll hit share. I'm not going to do it now. If you want to attach it as a PDF too, you can do that. Now, but I'm going to close out of this. Let me show you one more thing, and I hope I haven't gone too fast here. If you have any questions, let me know. You recently got an offer on your listing, and it's going to come over most of the time as a PDF. Where you're going to, if you're going to have your seller sign that, you're going to have to put that PDF inside here, and then you're going to have to add the signatures manually. You're going to do that the same way you did earlier on the MSA and the ABA. So let's just pretend that this is an offer. Again, we're going to assign John Doe, the ones we already have, and I'm going to assign this to no one. But let's say you had to add another signature. You're just going to do add signature and drop the guy right there and assign it to John Doe again. There's multiple places where you had to do that. Okay. Or you might have to, on the legal description, you probably will have done this already when you get the listing done, but you'll have to add a initial. And then you can assign it to, again, John Doe. You can assign it to yourself. You can, let's say you add another one for yourself, add initials, drop it right there, assign a field. I'm going to assign it to myself, Johnny Camp, and now I'm going to sign now, and adopt and sign, and I'm done. Same thing with signatures. Add signature right here, assign field, Johnny Camp, sign now, and now I'm done. And then, of course, don't forget to save. And sometimes you can save and share. Okay. Oh, well, let me just show you. If I want to share this, now it's going to go, well, if you had multiple people check those boxes to make sure you send it to everybody. Okay, I hope I didn't go too fast here. Hope that's not clear as mud. Hope it's much more clear. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Talk at you soon. Peace.